questions and stuff, and I appreciate that. But we're going to also have those questions asked again because they're more important for everybody. So when everybody gets settled in, we'll let them raise their hands and ask those questions.
Are you going to talk about this?
Yes, towards the end. Now, if any of you saw me in 2017, it was November 2017, I had lots of videos that I love sharing. I don't this time. I kept it to that one. Keep it simple. But I hope you did enjoy it. Okay. All right, so of the people that were asking me questions earlier, if you'd raise your hand. Yes, ma'am. Okay, so I remember at least one of them.
What if I can't, I have no time and energy to do all that promotion?
Okay.
Have you got people who can help us?
Yes, so resources. One of my websites for the organizations that I run is called indiebeacon.com. We have on there a list of people, individuals, companies, resources on all aspects of publishing. Okay? Graphic artists, editors, proofreaders, videographers, excuse me. Just about anything and everything you can imagine relating to publishing is listed there. So you can choose and use whoever you want. And we definitely encourage you, if you do use somebody, please leave a review. You know how important those reviews are. Okay? You had your question?
And how we have a lot of that talent in our organization here. So besides putting it on our own website, which we're working on that sort of thing, how do our members get on that list on your site?
Very simple. Email me. I will send you the link for the form to fill out. It is free of charge. So just email me with the information once you fill out the form, and we'll get you on the site.
Thank you.
Okay? Yes?
Do you have a speakers bureau for Texas authors?
I don't, but there is one.
Okay.
And if you just research on the internet for Texas speakers, it's part of the National Organization of Speakers, but they do have a specific Texas branch. Okay?
It would be called Texas Writers, Speakers, or Texas?
Just
Speakers would be all kinds of speakers.
correct, and in that program, they have you the ability to break it down and to do refined searches and stuff,
Oh, okay.
so you can narrow it down. Okay?
Can you repeat again the national part that you just said?
Yeah, the National Speakers Association. They have a local chapter here in Texas. I believe they're based out of Dallas, and so you can do the research on Google for that. Inheritance was another thing that was brought up.
It. Yeah.
Okay, how many of you have thought far in advance to give your books as part of an inheritance to somebody in your family that will carry on? You have?
Yes.
Okay, so can I ask, you don't have to give too much details, but who have you chosen?
I'm looking at people who will get out and market. I'm looking at someone who is not a family member. I have in my will a certain percentage of my estate to go to this person, because once your books are on Amazon, essentially they are maybe there forever.
Mhm.
And I'm a nonfiction writer, so they are timeless in a lot of ways.
Okay, so 2 items for that. First, ideally a family member who loves to read, who wants to be a writer, that would be a perfect person to carry on for you. Okay? You've done the work, so why not let them start to enjoy the benefits as well? Number 2, and this is a selfish plug, but I'm going to do it. One of my organizations I created is called the Texas Institute of Authors. It is a museum specifically for Texas authors. No other state has one of these. Okay? We are online. I was going to show you the website later. We got hacked by the Russians. They're not. They were the Russians.
Wow.
And it killed our entire database. We had over 800 authors listed, so we've been rebuilding it. And I think we're up to about 400 right now. It is free to be listed on there. So feel free to email me for the link, and I will definitely send it to you so you can get it listed. Texas Authors Institute of History.
And when you're talking about leaving, you mean your copyrights?
Correct.
Yeah.
All right. We are looking for people to leave their books with us, okay, so that we can continue on promoting them, publishing them, and of course then using the money to help our organization grow and be able to be there for future generations. Okay? So those are the two options for an inheritance. It is considered a valuable item. Okay? Especially if you worked your butt off to make it work, right? So consider that as something to leave to somebody in your family. And if not, we'll take it. No problem here. Okay? There was a third question. Yes,
I
ma'am.
was just going to say, when my mother died, I have a huge box of her journals, and we put in the settlement of the will that intellectual property was passing on to my brothers and myself so that we could publish it. We have World War II letters between my mother and father, so you're right, it is a very valuable resource.
Yeah, and it's not just from the family perspective, the historical perspective. I mean, our generation, I'm part of that generation, we're dying off, okay? And we have such stories that need to be shared and saved for history, okay? So, reach out to those people, create those documents, whether it be video or written, okay? That's history that needs to be saved, okay? Because when you get 3 or 4 generations down the road, they won't know really what happened, and they are likely to repeat it. Okay. There was another question. What were we talking about? I asked you to raise your hand.
We were talking about small national publishers.
Right, okay, small publishers. You have your big 5 traditional, okay? They can be great. Why do you think most people get a contract with them?
Because they're famous.
Because they can sell
Famous. Famous. They have a following, okay? I mentioned earlier I have 40,000 followers, right? But I didn't tell you how many social media accounts I had. Any guess on how many social media accounts I have?
I think it's between 6 and 8.
I have 35.
35.
Okay? Because of all the stuff I do, it's spread out. Each one has to have their own setup. So the biggest account I have is my LinkedIn account, which has over 23,000 followers. And because of that, you guys got a new person here today from that. Where are you? There you are. So what I have done is I have promoted this event to over 200 people on LinkedIn, okay? And we have someone who came in, and I thank you for that. So, but that's what you have to do with your social media, okay? Is you focus in on what your target market is and go with it.
When you sent that LinkedIn thing, which that was very good, by the way, because it was a great reminder for me, because did you target this by geographic location?
Yes.
And how wide did you make that? You did
From Lubbock all the way up to here, and not all the way to Dallas, about halfway. And then I stopped at the New Mexico border. Okay, so I reached out. I did a search specifically for major city, some of those cities aren't major, they only have a couple thousand, but I looked at all the different ones in the area, and then I specifically targeted authors.
That was a great post, by the way.
Thanks. I lost my track. Oh, we were talking about the big 5 and why you get published, because you have followers, you have publicity, correct? Most of the stuff that is out there is about the numbers. That's what they look for. But your smaller press, they're more about the writing, correct? Okay? But here's the catch with that. If they don't have money to back you up, both not only printing the books, but marketing, then it's a waste. They've got to have that money to help support you with the marketing. Okay? Yes, it's nice to get that contract. It's nice to let them do the work. But if they're not going to be promoting you, then you're wasting your time and energy, right? And if I'm wrong, say so. I mean, you've got a small publisher, correct?
Yeah, no, it's if they didn't have any way to, get my book out there on the internet at book fairs, they take my book around to kind of wherever they're going that weekend, and they got the editorial reviews, which helped with all that stuff. I do a lot of my own publicity, but they take care of most of the marketing. So that's kind of how we divvied it up. But I was in newspapers and journalism, so publicity came more natural to me. And, you know, they're using their money, what they would use for publicity, I told them use it for marketing, so that's what.
So that helps you in that respect. Definitely. Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
Then how do you determine whether this press has that ability or not?
Ask.
Mhm.
Ask.
Look at their records. Look at
Yeah.
their performance. Okay. If they're fairly new, then it just won't happen. And I'm a perfect example of that. Okay. Before I got into all of this, I had my own publishing company. Okay. I had it for 5 years. I published 12 books each year, and I published for books for people in India, China, Australia, Canada, and the United States. Okay? But what I was lacking was the best understanding of marketing and the funds to support it. So I became a failure because of those two things. The books were great, they're still out there, people are still buying them, but I gave them over to the authors and said, I'm not servicing you well, here's everything you need, here's all the contracts, everything, and they're making money from it. Okay? That's what got me into doing this in 2011. Is when I realized if you don't know what you're doing, you're screwed. Yes.
Yes. Which authors are these? Where can we get their books?
God, dude. I would have to sit down and write them all out, to be honest.
Later, all right.
Yeah, but I mean, there's children's books, there's self-help books, there's adult fiction books. I mean, there were all different types of things. Okay, but in 2011 is when I realized I need to figure out what's going on and how can I then take that information and help other authors who are in the same situation. Okay, so that's why I created Texas Authors, and we'll get into that later. All right, so 6-step program for attraction marketing for authors. Did you know that existed? It didn't. This is so new that you're going to see lots of typing errors in there, and I apologize. Late nights doesn't always work for me, but hopefully we got it all figured out and it's working for you. So attraction marketing was originally created for the internet businesses, okay? People who use the online social media to find the prospects, okay? We then sat down, we learned it, and reprocessed it specifically for authors, okay? So attraction marketing for authors is a 6-step program. Attraction marketing in general is 7, we narrowed it down to 6. First one is brand you. You are the one. Okay? How many people were told to brand their books? A few. Okay? Why do you think you should be branded and not the books?
I'm gonna write more than one book.
Okay? We'll get into more detail, but I'm curious.
More than one type of, different genre of books.
Yes, that's a good reason.
Well, and for speaking engagements,
I'm sorry?
speaking engagements,
Correct. Okay? And there's more reasons for it, and we'll get into that. Defining your audience. How many people have researched their genre to know who their readers are? Very few of you. Okay. Understanding your audience's biggest challenges. What do you think it is? You have readers that have a challenge. What do you think it is?
Finding your book among all the rest.
Finding your book, yes, but finding the book that they enjoy. And hopefully it is yours because you did a great job writing it, right? Okay. Understanding your audience's biggest challenges, just to repeat that. Create content that addresses your audience's desires. Okay. Sounds like a lot more work ahead, doesn't it? We'll make it simple. Build a relationship with your audience. How many of you do that? Okay, good. Embrace multiple income streams. We talked about that a few minutes ago. Okay, we'll talk about that some more because you'll be surprised at some of the ideas that you can think of that will add income. And very simple things. Okay. All right. And the last one, which is the biggest one of all, is get off your ass. Okay. Now, earlier we mentioned self-published writers. They don't have to pay attention to this because they don't have the time, the energy, or the desire to do what the indie author or the entrepreneur wants to do. Okay? But for those two classifications, you do have to work, and we'll talk about it. Okay? Step 1, brand you, you are the one. And as a reminder, okay, All of this in more detail is available on this website, okay? So all you have to do is go to it, register, download it. It's a 17-page white sheet, as we call it. Okay, it has more details for you. Okay. All right, the fundamental first step is attraction marketing for authors is you must brand you. You must brand you, not your book. People join people. Okay? People like that interaction. And that's one thing that Amazon doesn't have, correct? Okay? They have tons of books on there, but they have very little interaction with people. They use Goodreads for some of that,
Very much.
but that's pretty much it, isn't it?
They use Author Center for some of that.
Yeah.
But again, it's a limited amount, right? If people aren't interacting with you, they're not getting to know you, they're not getting to know your style, they're not getting to know your books. That's why it's important to brand you. Okay? Pretty much said all that. Therefore, you must brand you, step up, become the leader, you are the one. Okay? So show that you know what you're doing. Show your desire for what you do. That's really important. Because if you have no desire to be writing, then what are you doing? Okay? It's just like me being up here. If I don't have a desire to talk and help you, then I'm wasting your time and mine. And that's just reality, right?
Can you give an example of somebody that's branded or how you branded yourself?
I would love to give an example of how I branded myself, but I'm all over the place. But I have branded all my organizations and my events and programs and stuff like that. Okay?
What about an author? Or do you have an example of just one person? Or?
Matter of fact, she's a member of your organization, Linda Brody.
Okay. Yes.
She's a perfect example. Okay?
Okay.
And if she wasn't having eye surgery, she'd be here. So definitely go and talk to her. She'd love to share her ideas with
Well,
you.
you're right. And when I think of Linda, I don't think of her books so much as I think of her.
Mhm.
Yeah. And so she's done a great job.
Yes, sir.
And I know Linda well, but when you're talking about branding you, Linda has one genre that she writes, Western romance, and those of us that know her or follow her, we know if it's one of Linda's books, what it's generally about.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what you mean by, and in keeping that consistent, I know that the kind of covers she has are consistent, the type she uses on covers and things is consistent, her website is all of that goes together. Is that what you mean by her branding? Because I'm thinking things, but is that, how do you mean branding you?
That's pretty much it. Okay, you are what you're representing. Okay, so as long as you're in one particular genre and you're keeping everything consistent, then that's the brand. That's the product. Okay, you're keeping everything together. Okay, if you were 10 different genres, that would be a little tougher. But you as a person still carries over on each one of those. Okay, so even if they go to one particular website and they may see all the different options, they know who you are and they go from that perspective. But if you're not interacting with people, you're not branding yourself. That's the key. Okay, hold on, there was a question over here.
Well, you kind of answered. It's more difficult if you do a variety of different things.
Yes, but it can still be done. Okay, you had a question.
Well, I was just gonna tell everybody, an author that does this pretty well is Christina Dodd. Now, she writes a whole lot under the romance umbrella. She's got paranormal, she's got kind of cozy mystery, so she's got different branches, but her newsletter is about what's going on in her life. When she interacts on social media, it's, hey, here's what's happening at the reconstruction today. It's not all about the books, and she talks to her fan about what's going on in her life.
Exactly. It's that personal connection that we're lacking on social media that brings them to you. Okay?
One of our local authors here, Bethany Clare, and that is her pen name, she spoke at our Arts Fest and mentioned that as someone who, this is her job or profession that she started out of college and works on diligently, she said she makes it a point to respond to every single Facebook, every single email, every single interaction she gets from one of her readers, she responds to them personally.
Yeah, and that's extremely tough to do.
Yeah.
Okay,
As
and
a professional, that's all she does. So
Yeah.
she gets it done.
And to that aspect, you can hire an assistant to do that as well. Okay, so if you don't want to personally do it, if you have a good assistant who knows you, you can do that. But responding to people is really important. Okay? With the emails, I've told you all, if you want to get on this list or that list or whatever, email me and I'll get you there. I respond to emails usually within 2 hours. Okay, I'm
You are
usually
terrific, by the way.
Thank you. I usually try to respond faster if I can. When we have a new member join, I call them personally within an hour, and I welcome them. I make that connection. So I want to make sure they understand what they just joined and get all the benefits. Okay? It's that personal communication that, let's face it, today's commerce is just lacking, but it makes a world of difference. Okay? It builds the brand, it builds who you are, it shows you care. Okay? Wouldn't you buy or work with somebody who cares versus somebody who doesn't? Okay. Branding you, people buy products and join people, not companies, which is basically what we were just talking about. Okay? You make that connection, therefore you're part of that experience. Okay? And if you've written some great books, they're going to keep coming back. They're going to want to know more. When's the next one coming out? All that fun stuff. Okay? And while we're talking about when the next one's coming out, what is the suggested time period to wait for your next book to come out?
I've heard a year.
Yes.
Don't wait.
2 years. Okay, and there's a reason for that, but we'll get into that later. So, companies come and go, but you are here to stay. Okay? We've seen a lot of companies come and go over our years, haven't we? Okay, but we're still here, aren't we? Okay, that's the thing about that interaction. They build time, and as you write more and more books, you're building readership, you're building that experience, you're building your sales. All righty, next one. Branding the company, the book, we guarantee you lose customers, correct? So if you're branding your book, okay, great. You've gone out there, you've promoted it, you've sold it, but the book is done. Unless it's a series, chances are it's done, right? Even in a series, then you've created a limited amount of interest. Okay? But if you branded you, then you have more interest. Okay, so those of you who might have written 2, 3, 4 genres, I think I've written in 5 genres myself. I have now an audience that may not like all those particular genres, but they're interested enough to keep going, finding out what the next one is. If I stay in a particular genre for a couple of years, they're going to keep with me, they're going to keep buying, they're going to keep building. The sales continue to increase, and that's what it's about, right? Increasing our readership and our sales. Okay? So if you brand just the book, you're cutting yourself off. Okay? There's an example in here that we'll get to that's perfect for that explanation. Define your audience. I mentioned earlier, how many of you have researched your genre to find out who your readers are? How many of you did that? Small amount, okay. When you go into Barnes & Noble, for example, how many of you look in your genre and look at the books? Okay, good, that's research. Okay, that's important. You look at the cover. You look at all the different covers. How do they relate? Are there certain colors that stand out more than others? Or are they all dark and gloomy? Are they all happy or cheerful? You look at those things. When you read the back, the sales pitch, do you see a consistent flow of concept? Okay. When you open the book, is the layout consistent? Okay. For example, if you write a mystery, would you use a romance or a gothic format? Now, if somebody were to pick that up in the mystery section and see a gothic or romance aspect, I go, this doesn't look right. And they put it right back down, right? Okay. That's all part of defining who your audience is. You want to be able to understand them so you can deliver those products. Okay? Because if you don't, you've lost it.
You just mentioned a few ways. What are there some other ways to research your audience? And I know there's some metrics and organizations you can get metrics on who buys what books and so forth. Do you have any of that information?
I don't have that, and I actually try to encourage not to get those because they're more scientific based versus human based. Okay, in other words, yeah, you can purchase those and you can get a general idea, but when it comes down to the human aspect, it's lacking, and therefore, when you try to create something based only on that computer idea, you miss out on something. Okay, when you go to a book festival, okay, and you happen to see an author who is in your same genre, you talk to them, get to know them. You know, that's part of that research, part of finding out who, what type of audience are you wanting to attract.
Perfect segue. When we get our members only section done on the website, we will have a space for you to put in your genre so you can find other people in our organization that are in your genre, your local.
There you go.
I have a question. About this branding, like I noticed you've got an orange and yellow banner up there. Does it help to say on all your envelopes, your stationery, your literature that you put out, does it help to have something consistent like that?
Yes. The imagery.
Or a color?
Yes. I mentioned earlier about book covers, correct? Whether there's certain colors, are they happy or are they gloomy? What particular thing relates to your genre? So you want to incorporate that into your stationery, okay, or into your advertising, because that will pull those people that are interested in that genre, okay.
How about your website? Like,
same thing.
try to pull that, just kind of stick to a couple of colors or something.
Yes.
That's repeatable.
Yes, and keep it that way through the entire website.
Yeah.
Okay? You don't want to have 5 different pages all looking different because
Right.
it confuses and it takes away from what you're trying to achieve.
That's what I was wondering about, really. Is the consistency.
Mm-hmm.
And that simplifies it too, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. Unless you do multiple genres, then that's a whole different story.
Years ago, we had the godfather of creative nonfiction. And I was wearing turquoise, and I went up to get his book signed. He looked up at me and he said, "Oh, the turquoise lady." He was a professor and then asked how to spell turquoise, I will tell you that. But I figured even years later, he'd know who I was. So after that, everything I go, anything to do with work, is turquoise.
I'm a blue.
Yeah.
Everything I wear is blue.
So
So those things, they add in. Okay? How many of you remember when I was here in November? Okay, what do you remember of it, other than the great information I gave you?
Pink wig.
There you go. It wasn't a pink wig, but it was a wig. Okay, it was actually a rainbow wig.
Oh, okay.
Okay? Those things I do at times. I will come out and wear something colorful, something that will shock you, and that gets you to remember who I am. Okay? We have encouraged our members to do something special at their booth at a book festival. Okay, one example, we had a lady who used to be a go-go dancer back in the 60s. Well, she's in her 60s now, so she can't quite do that. But she's got a mannequin of one of those dresses. People want to ask questions. Okay? And it relates to her books because her books are historical biographies. Okay? So they're about her life. Even though the character isn't her name, the character is her. Okay? So that relates to it. That's her branding. Okay? So think of those things as you work through that. Okay? All right, so we've talked about defining your audience. What is your version? Who are they? What is their passion? All that stuff. Okay? And it really comes also back to you. What is your passion? Okay? Because you want like-minded people, right? So once you understand who you are and what your passion is and what you want to deliver, then you will draw those people to you. Correct?
Yep.
Okay. I mean, you're all authors, right? So you're here and you want to develop your career and stuff, and that's why you're here listening to me now. You're drawn to that idea. Okay. All right. Understanding your audience's biggest challenge. So we mentioned that earlier, and it was the desire to read something good, specifically in your genre. Okay? You need to get clarity on who your target audience is. Again, that research. Then you must uncover what your readers want. Okay? So, who's a romance writer? All the way back? Anybody up close? All right, you. All right. So, in your romance, what is the key aspect that you think your readers want?
The relationship between the characters.
Okay. In what context? Is it just the relationship, meaning it's mental, or is it physical? What?
Well, both, because I write romance that goes all the way.
Okay.
But most of my readers are looking for the connection between the characters.
Okay.
And
All right. Who does mystery or thrillers? Okay. What is the thing that your audience wants?
Mostly they want a puzzle they can solve. A lot of them want a twist at the end, and depending on whether or not they want more suspense or more action, they either want more internal character development or they want bullets flying on every third page. So it depends on what subgenre you're writing for.
Okay. Anybody else have a different genre?
Historical novels.
Okay. Who was that? All right. So, but you have a specific type of book, correct? A specific subject matter.
Yes, it's ancient history, but
Okay.
probably the challenge or the need is the same. Audience wants to feel a part of that time period. They want to feel a part of the process, the challenge, the resolutions.
Exactly. They want to feel the experience of that period. Okay. Anybody else? Yes.
Christian books for children and youth.
Okay.
One of the problems with that is that even though it's the children and youth who are my target audience, they're not the ones that usually buy the books. It's the parents or the grandparents or teachers. So it makes it more challenging.
Why?
Because it's involving two different types of people. It's the younger people and then the older people.
Okay. So have you interviewed both types?
Just a limited amount.
Okay. Because you do want to interview the kids. You want to have that casual conversation to find out what they may want. And at the same time, you do want to communicate with the adults who are buying the books and seeing what they want and then merging those two together, correct? Okay. So as long as you're doing that research, you can accomplish it because you're understanding both levels. Yeah, in the stories, you're giving everything the kids want, but in the outside, the pictures, the imagery of the book itself, you're giving what the adults want. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Anybody else?
Poetry, which of course people say, oh, and someone came up to me when I was doing a poetry reading once and said, oh, I actually could understand this. I thought all poetry was obscure and hard to understand. So you have to get past this mental picture that some people have when they hear the word poetry. I just, it was kind of interesting.
Last one.
Christian nonfiction.
Christian nonfiction? Okay.
Commentaries on Bible books, Bible doctrines.
All right. So that has pretty much a built-in audience.
What do you think?
Okay, so what is your challenge?
The challenge is that it's a raindrop in an ocean.
Because there's so much already out there?
Because there's so much already out there, because what's out there is of varying quality and trustworthiness, and because people tend towards, like they do with any genre, tend towards name authors who already have a following.
Free stuff.
Built-in audience,
yeah. And this is not a personal dig at you. You don't have the energy and the drive to be beyond a self-published author, correct?
I'm an independent author according to your definition. I do not have the drive and the energy anymore to actually engage in all that marketing.
Right, so that becomes even more of a challenge for you.
Yes,
okay?
absolutely.
So in your aspect, okay, how can you set yourself apart?
That's an interesting question. I'm not sure.
That's part of learning who you are, what your drive is. Okay? Once you figure that out, then you can do that to market your books. Because you're, again, branding yourself and then your books are part of that.
I have a Facebook presence. I publish essays on Facebook, which I then post essays on Facebook, which I then publish as books, and I've sold a few of those.
Okay. Consider on Facebook putting some of those little bits and pieces of your books out there, more so.
I do.
Okay. Because that helps build your readership and your following.
Absolutely.
But figure out what the drive is and how you can set yourself apart. Okay?
Thank you.
Now, you were just talking about poetry, and we'll get more into detail again if someone reminds me, and I just lost my train of thought. All right, so we'll keep on going. We did the audiences. All right, so create content that addresses your audience's desire. So the book, of course, is one of them, right? What else do you think there is? Now this comes back to branding you and what your desire is, okay? And somebody had mentioned it earlier too. Okay? I'm sorry?
Newsletters.
Right. Continuously posting out information. Now, some people say that you should do it every single day. Hell no. Right? Who has the time, right? Okay. But if you're doing it at least once or twice a week, you're keeping the interest going. Okay. One thing we taught, and I still really promote, even back in November when I was here, is to have your characters do some communications. Okay. For example, if you write a murder mystery, okay, why not have the murderer just confess? I killed so-and-so and it felt great. Well, that's going to get some attention, right?
On your social media or newsletter, is that what you're saying?
Exactly. Whatever form of communication you have, use it for that. Okay? Other than calling somebody up and saying it, because you might have a cop knocking at your door. So.
We had a mystery writer, Doris Meredith. I think most of you know her. And she used to answer her answering machine message was, I'm sorry, I'm in the middle of a murder right now, and I'll get back to you, or something like that. And I thought that was really neat, like, and it's something you don't forget.
Exactly, because you haven't forgotten it.
Yeah, and that's really something.
So use your characters. Let them communicate with your readers. Okay? While you've branded yourself, part of you is that ability to write these characters. Okay? So when you've got a new book coming out and you're working on it, put it out there. I'm struggling with this because of whatever. Okay? Or you know what? While I was writing this particular chapter, where somebody was falling in love with somebody else, I thought, this would be another great book where they actually killed him later. Those little odds and ends. Those are things you can put out there no matter what subject matter you're writing in. Okay? That helps then people keep you in mind, keep that communication line going, keep the interest going, and you don't have to do it every day. How many of you know of Hootsuite?
Yeah.
Okay? It's a great program to use. It's not that expensive, but you can schedule all of your posts and all your social media at one time a week, and it will schedule it and send it out throughout the week.
What's it called?
Hootsuite. I'll have it up on the screen later. Okay? It's a good, simple, easy program to use. It works with pretty much all social media. Okay? All right, so you've given them some valuable content, right? Okay? You're sharing who you are. Okay? You're letting them know what's going on. You're sharing character information. You're sharing story information without saying, buy my book. That is the number one turnoff. Buy my book. By the way, my book's back there on the table. Okay. Other content. If you're going to succeed and you're going to have to create a steady flow of valuable content, right? Again, you're writing your books. There's your content. Okay? I'm not saying put every chapter out on the internet. I'm saying put little tidbits, put little interesting side bits to it. Okay? How many of you have entered a short story contest? Okay? Of those stories you've written, how many of them relate to a book you wrote? Okay? We encourage that. Okay? There's always something that was left out of the short story or out of the book that can be a great short story. Okay? It's additional publishing, marketing. Okay? It's a great way to get people to learn about you. In our particular case, all those short story books we have back there is part of our contest. And every author who wins gets to put a paragraph in there as to why they wrote the story, what it relates to. We pass out 1,000 copies to all the libraries, or at least 1,000 of the libraries here in Texas, every single year. That's a great way for people to learn about you. Okay? So consider those. Even if you don't want to do a contest, write a short story and post it up on your website. Okay? Share some information. That's content. That's valuable content. Okay? All right. So the best way to brand you and become the leader in your genre is constantly create valuable content, okay, for your audience. And again, we've gone through a lot of that. A lot of this is in that 17-page thing, so feel free to download it. It's free. Okay? I do give away a lot of goodies. Looks like I'm going backwards here, doesn't it? All right, BES. Sounds like a lot of bullshit, doesn't it? Build your audience, engage your audience, sell to your audience. Okay? If you focus on 3 activities every single day, or at least throughout the week, you're building your audience on Facebook, for example, and you are spending some time each day to engage with them, okay? But you're quietly selling to them. You're not saying buy my book, but you're branding who you are. You're talking about your characters, your books, whatever. That's quietly selling your book. Because if they are engaged with you and they are learning about you, they will want to buy your book, right? So you're quietly, subliminally, basically telling them, here's my book, here's all the information, go out and buy it. But you're doing it in a way that interacts and has that human touch. Okay.
So when you're doing these little engaging your audience and things like on Twitter or Facebook, at that point you don't put the link to buy your book, or do you?
Not necessarily. What you would want to do, though, is point them back to your website.
Oh, okay.
Okay? So give me an example of a latest tweet you've done.
The latest tweet?
Or Facebook posting. Okay. I called you out in the open there, so.
I can do what if you want.
All right.
I actually, on my website, I have a blog feature, put out a recommendation for another book that I really enjoyed, and so that was a link to my website. There's a buy section on my website. In addition, on my Twitter and Instagram, in my bio, there is a link to my book there. So I've had some people, oh, I like the content on this feed, they like me, and then my analytics will show me that then they'll go and they'll click on the link from that.
Right.
Well, and I saw yours this morning about the books you brought back from New York. Okay, because we do have links to all the books on the website. So most of these things then just
feedback to where they
put
can.
the website and then, okay.
Now, if it is a particular tweet or a posting about your character for one of those books, then of course you can point directly to the book. Okay? But in general terms, you're pointing them back to a website or someplace where they can get more interest of who you are.
Okay.
Okay? How many of you actually do book reviews of others' books? Okay. So when you're putting that information out there, you're putting your website because you're posting about it. And if you're in the same genre, then they're going to be wanting to know more about you. You had a question?
No, I was going to make a comment on your comment. I write for Your Tango, which is a professional sex website that is clean. And what we have to do at the end of every article is have a call to action. It is 2 to 3 sentences. So you tell, and it's in third person. Patsy Ray Dawson is a personality and sexuality coach. Go to her website, pick up her free survey. And so you're calling the reader to action in a way that is non-selling, but you're giving up your expertise.
Right. And for articles, that's exactly what you want to be doing, no matter where you're writing. Okay. But for a tweet, it's a little harder because you have limited space. But you still want to have that link so they can learn about you. Okay.
We couldn't hear what Patsy said.
Sure. She writes articles for a specific group, And at the end of the article, there's that paragraph that says who she is, and it's written in third person. And it leads back to her website so that people can then learn more about her or her books or whatever. You're laughing at me because I didn't say sex? All right. We've already covered that people join and buy from people, not companies. But we mostly fully understand that in people who give you money in exchange for stuff that they believe will make their lives more enjoyable, right? So that comes back to the books, okay? You've built your readerships, they've bought your books, they believe your book's going to satisfy their desire, their need. And let's face it, as readers, that's what they want. They want to be reading. They want to enjoy a good book. Okay? The fastest way to make more money is to talk to more targeted people, correct? Okay, so how do you think you're going to do that? It goes all the way back to the beginning of before you wrote the book. You've done your research. You're finding out who your readers are. And you're developing continuously that readership by giving them that valuable content that's going to create that engagement, that's going to want them to buy your books. Okay? So you know who your audience is. Okay? When you do a table display at a book festival, do you have things that relate specifically to who you are and to your books, or do you have just a whole bunch of weird things?
What relates?
Right. Okay. And cookies don't always relate.
But chocolate does.
Yeah, it sadly does. All right. So, embracing multiple income streams. Okay, we've talked a little bit about this. Okay. You have a particular book. We mentioned the Martian's book. Okay, he created a stream of income. You subscribe to the service, you get to read the chapter, you get to be involved in helping create the book. Okay, so not only does he have the book sales going on, but now he's got the subscription service. Okay? Who writes children's books? Okay, what is yours is Christian, but there's no animals or anything like that. Or there is or is not.
Yeah, the main character is an imaginary animal called the glops.
Okay. Have you drawn them before in the book? Because they're purely imaginary? Okay, so that limits your ability to have plush toys or anything like that. But for somebody else who has a children's book, a particular character or something, they can purchase mass quantities and sell them at their booths. Okay? And they're making money off of it. For example, we have Sir Pigglesworth is one of our members. Actually, it's a married couple, Joanne and Bill Wagner. They have gone out and bought pigs with wings. Okay, they have them custom made, and they sell them at their booths. Okay, they're making more money off of those than they are off the book. Okay? And part of that aspect of branding yourself. Okay, granted, the pig is the brand in the most aspect, but Bill has a pig nose that he wears, and he also has a mohawk, multicolored, that he wears. That's part of branding himself. Okay, but it's relating to the pig. It gets people engaged in talking to him. Sometimes a little more than his wife prefers, but it does. Okay, she's gotten into the game. You know, she does a little odds and ends as well. Okay, because she understands that human connection makes that sell. Okay, it gets people to walk up to you at a booth or an event to talk. Okay? So thinking about different ways of having multiple income. Okay, we thought about that for the podcast that I do, Ask Alan Anything, about doing a subscription, but I prefer to give it away for free. I want people to grow. Okay, but I could actually create a subscription for $10 a month. You get 4 episodes. Yeah, people will buy it. I chose not to do it, but that is a possible income for you. Okay. When this writers group is putting up the videos, if I remember correctly, you guys put up the videos on the websites?
We're going to.
Okay. That's a possible income for people who are not members.
Only section.
But for those who are not members, they could then purchase the ability to watch them, correct?
Great idea.
Okay. We have an annual event, it's called the Authors Marketing Event. It's where authors get together with professionals every end of July, every single year, and they learn from them how to better market and sell themselves. Okay? We then take every single one of those videos and put it up on a separate website where people could go in and buy a video pass and watch them all. Okay? So for $200, they can watch every single year's worth of videos. It's a source of income. It helps them. It's very inexpensive. It comes out to like less than, I think, $7 a video. But it's well worth it. They learn all these different things. And if they answer the questions, they become certified in marketing, and we're the only organization in the world that does that. Okay? So multiple incomes can come in a lot of different ways. And here's the example I was mentioning earlier. You can imagine if McDonald's was the only, was only allowed to sell hamburgers. They wouldn't do very well, would they? If they would, go broke. And so if you, I'm doing a lousy job here. And so will you, if you continue to try and build your business with handcuffs on. In other words, if you're focused only on your book, okay, and nothing else, you'll get some success, but you may not get as much as if you could with multiple money income. Okay? So McDonald's makes their profits from all the other stuff you buy once you are in the restaurant. The upsell of the fries, the sodas, ice creams, desserts. In fact, the most profitable upsell in the history of the world is, would you like fries with that?
You gotta do something with that MFA.
Yeah. Get it out there. All right, so think of what do you write, how can you increase the income flow, whether it be speaking, whether it be educational classes, whatever it is, how can you grow to increase your income? Increase the possibility of avenues of income. Okay? All right, finally, get off your ass. I get most of us love to just sit there and write. Okay? And for those self-publishers we first talked about, that's all they wanted to do. They wanted to write that book about the history of their family, their cookbook, whatever, and that's fine. But the other ones who want to build their business, the indie authors, the entrepreneurs, you're going to have to work, okay? Unless you've got the money to hire people, it's not going to get done, okay? So make sure you're willing to work, okay? But you have to be wise at how you do it, okay? I mentioned that program Hootsuite earlier, correct? Okay? You sit there for 1 hour and just scheduling all those tweets, all those Facebook postings, Instagram, whatever source you use, okay? Is a lot better and a lot wiser than every day waking up and starting to do it. Scheduling it on the phone. And use your time wisely. There's plenty of programs out there that can do that. Okay? In Authors Revolution, we have some of those. I'm going to go through this really quick. Yeah, we're just about the time that we need to end. So you'll find things out about book festivals, the network, the Dear Texas program, National Authors Day, all these different programs, Draft to Digital. How many people have issues when they're trying to create their ebooks? Y'all do your ebooks really well? I always have problems with mine. But Draft to Digital is a great way. It's free. You can go in there, upload your manuscript from Word, and create your ebook, and you can see how it flows. You can go back, change things, stuff like that, and it's free. Okay? A lot of these things in here are free or very low income or expensive. Okay? But these are all in there. They're all in my book, okay? And we update it every 6 months, okay? But there's different programs. Publish is that company I mentioned earlier where the person spent $10,000. Okay? They can be very expensive or they can be very inexpensive, depending on what programs you choose, okay? But there's those types of marketing programs out there, okay? Dark Frog Books gets books into get books into hotels, okay? It's expensive. You have to meet their qualifications, but it's available to you. Okay. Kirkus Reviews, definitely want to look into them. They still are free, but most people pay the $400 to get the review quickly. Okay. If you're going into audio, I'm here in Stories is another one. Different review services, organizations. If you're wanting to get your book into movies, Story Rocket is a good program to use. All these different programs are all there. There's Hootsuite. that I mentioned. There's others as well. Okay. If you run into writer's block and you want to write a book about how to do something and you want to make it into a career of doing speaking engagements and stuff like that, the author incubator is a good place, but it's also very expensive. And by that I mean $15,000 for a 1 week program. Okay. All of these are out there and different programs to use. So I'm going to go through some other things. This is my sales pitch. Sorry, but I got to do it. Got to earn my money here. I mentioned earlier about the Texas Authors Association, Texas Authors Institute of History. This is our museum. As you see, it's still under construction because we're still recovering from that hack that actually wiped out about 6 months worth of hard work and stuff. But you see the different programs we have and stuff like that. You can go into the pages and go from there to sign in and get the form to put your book and your information in there. Again, it's free. Okay. We have a new program. There's the campus I was telling you about where we take all those videos from the events that we do. You can go there. There's one of the events that's actually coming up next weekend. It's our 4th annual one. Our next event will be in Granbury. I always want to add it to you now, but it's Granbury, which is southwest of Fort Worth, so it's not too far from you if you want to join us next year. Then we have the Book Festival Network, which we do book festivals all around the state. The biggest one we have for next year is the Lone Star Book Festival. The flyers were passed out, so you have that information. Then we have the Week Fiction program.
Can you tell us a little bit about the Lone Star Book Festival when you have time?
Sure.
How that works?
Yeah, I'll get back to that one. We have the Week Fiction. Now, this is a new writing contest, okay? And it's really interesting because the readers are the ones who are going to be putting up the information, the plot twist, the characters, the locations. Okay. In exchange for that, they're also making a donation to our nonprofit to help us get books into Title I schools. Okay. But the authors then form teams, minimum of 2. We prefer 4 authors to work as a team. Okay. Let me see if I've got some here. Yeah, here's some author teams here, and I think this is one of the good ones. So they will work together. They will have 90 days to create a book. Then the readers who have been putting the information in there will read the books, judge them, and if they win, they then get published. So the authors then get royalties from that book they've written. Okay? So the objective here was simple. How can we help authors build the readers? Well, by putting a team together, they are now sharing information about that group. Okay? So the readers for Jan will now learn about the other 3, and vice versa. So now readers are discovering new authors. Might not even be in the same genre. Okay? That lady I told you about who was a go-go girl, that's Jan. Okay? But Kathleen at the end, she writes children's books. Okay? So who's to say some of the grandparents that might be reading this for nostalgia don't have kids or grandchildren that would love the Hamilton Troll books. Okay? So you're sharing the information and you're being able to build your readership. And you're having fun creating a book. It's working your mind because you're working as a team. Okay? So something to consider. And it's for next year. So we're getting everybody signed up now so that next year we can do that. National Authors Day is a new event. Originally it was planned to be a parade in Houston. Unfortunately the city said, no, we're too busy, we don't want you. So we're reorganizing it, but it's still an event for November 2nd where authors are going to be able to say, hey, I'm here, read my books. All right, Dear Texas is Drop Everything and Read. This is our nonprofit as well as Dear Indy that helps get those books into Title I schools and also libraries. We've passed out in the last 4 years, I think we're at $30,000 worth of books. Indie Lector. Okay, so I'm going to briefly talk about this. You guys want to make money, right? You are selling on Amazon. How much do you guys get off of the Amazon sales? Do you get 50% of the sale?
35 to 70.
I'm sorry, what was that?
35% to 70%, depending on a variety of factors.
Okay, whether it's an ebook or exclusive KDP Select.
Depends on how it's being sold, to who it's sold to, whether it's an institution or an individual.
Right.
What country it's sold in, different aspects.
Right. Generally, though, most of you are just getting whatever CreateSpace royalty is. Right? What would you like if you could earn 80% of the retail price? And what if you were only listed with indie authors, entrepreneurs, people who are wanting to build a business? That's what this site's about. Okay? If you join Texas Authors or Indie Beacon, it's a free site. If you choose not to join them, you're going to join them anyways if you sign up here, because that's part of the deal. So you're going to learn marketing, you're going to earn up to 80%, and most importantly, you're going to find out who's reading your books. You don't get that from Amazon, do you? Okay. So there's 3 programs in here that you can choose from. Give it some thought. We have, of course, the local areas. As you can see here, we have different states that already have some authors, but Texas, of course, is a big one. So we list them by the authors' names. We list them, of course, then by the genres and also by the locations for those who like to shop local. Okay? All of those things are working really well for that. Okay? So in a nutshell, that's most of everything we do. We are a membership-based organization. If you got that membership form, there's plenty in the back. Our membership fee is only $50 a year. And when I was last here, it was $125. So we brought it down to make it more affordable for you. One of those programs is that Lone Star Book Festival that's coming up. It is an event that collates or shares the the Texas May. The month of May is the Texas Authors Month. We just started kicking on that up this year. So next year is the bigger one. It is designed for only indie authors, only Texas authors to come and celebrate the books. It's in Seguin, Texas, and right now it's only $60 for a table space. But it's designed to promote Texas authors.
Is it outside, inside?
Inside.
So, we don't need to bring a cover or?
No.
$60 for 10 by 10?
Mm-hmm. So we're keeping it cool, and you get lunch too.
Oh, plus lunch.
Yeah. All of our book festivals, we always make sure the authors get fed. We want you happy in some way. All right, so that's it in a nutshell. Any questions? Yes, ma'am.
You mentioned you were going to get back to, you should book, have 2 years between
Yes.
getting another book. And my marketing son said 1 year. And I'm 75. I have 4 more books to do. I don't want to wait a year.
I understand that.
I might not be here.
I understand. Okay, so this is one of the things that the big publishers taught us, okay? And it's the only thing I actually like taking away from them, okay? Is the 2-year program, and here's why. When you got a new book out, you're gonna spend a year of properly marketing, promoting it, all that stuff. Then you're gonna spend the next year of writing your newest book. Or actually, you're gonna be doing it while you're marketing, okay? But through all that process, you have your cover design, your editing, your proofreading. All of that takes time, right? So if you plan it out, so when you've got book A coming out in 2020, okay, and you already know what the next book's gonna be, and you start working it during 2020, while the first book is selling, you're out there marketing, and you planned your time out so you have time to write, time to promote, all that stuff. And, you get into 2021, and now you're in the process of, okay, the book's done, now we're proofreading, we're getting it all set up to be published, okay? So by the end of the second year, you've set up your first year's success from all the marketing, you've got your readers, now you can start promoting the second one, okay? And in 2022, you're writing the third book, you're out there promoting the second book, see what I'm saying? If you spread it out, if you plan your marketing, you're building your success, okay? You're creating that content, that valuable content during all that time to keep people interested, to draw in those new people too, right? So all of this takes time. If you rush your book to press, okay, and you get it out there, chances are there's gonna be errors, or you're gonna have to go back and fix the cover design because it's not really fitting your genre, whatever it is, okay? Editing, I mean, that's the biggest problem. I had one book come out, had 5 different editors, and there's still errors. I finally took it off the market. Enough. Okay, but you have to spend the time to find those people that are going to do the job right. Okay? So don't rush yourself to press. Okay? Yes, it would be nice to get that money, but if you're rushing it, you're killing yourself by not marketing it. You're not setting up your marketing schedule. Does that make sense?
Yes.
That's why we use that 2-year period. 1 year of developing a new book, at the same time you're marketing the first book, and you're setting everything up. Okay? Any other questions? Come on, it's all free. Until you buy my book. That's it. Well, thank you very much. Enjoy your lunch.